So your upcoming short film, Missing Hearts, is a science fiction project. Can you share some of the insights about this film and what makes it unique?
Yeah, I haven't touched a science fiction genre of short film since I did a period piece called A Twist of Time, which is a more contemporary story up in Port Angeles, but the main character goes back in time. So that was kind of science fiction. And then one of my first shorts was with Tony DuPay and David Hogan in Drowned World. But that was kind of a very closed space science fiction story. So this is completely different. I just dived onto my computer and decided, I wonder what it would be like for a female astronaut to be stranded, on a deserted planet and have no one to communicate with except a discarded robot that's sitting in a little tin hut who's been left there for 250 years. She's, through the story, she's communicating with the rescue team that's coming for her. But in the meantime, things are evolving with her and this robot. And so it's a unique opportunity to see how they evolve from the beginning to the end in terms of their relationship and honesty and, any kind of humanity that can come out of a machine and any kind of empathy that can come out of a fairly strong female lead. Yeah,
And who's the lead?
that's Chantel Frizzle.
All
She's a
right,
South
shout out.
African actress who's been up here. She's done a bunch of local things, and she's perfect for the part. She sent me her audition tape, and I thought, bang, right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what does your creative process look like from the initial idea to the final product?
Wow. Well, before I even hit the keyboard and write it, I do my research. And I want to make sure that whatever slang language I'm using, whatever costuming I'm using, automobiles I'm using, sets and locations I'm using, is going to feel comfortable for everybody, the cast, the crew, and then ultimately it'll be up to me to decide if it all comes together. But, and I've been pretty hands-on about costuming, props, locations, sets, so that once I step onto the set, I'm pretty comfortable that we're going to get where we want. But the footage that we should get in the camera is going to be what I want. And I guess I'm hoping that that confidence radiates out to the rest of the crew and they realize, they're on the right track because I do storyboards and I do shot lists and that kind of thing. But really, when you step on the set, you just kind of toss them over your shoulder and we're going to go for it and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's basically you've been thinking about it for so long and your storyboards are even in your head. You have the vision and you're like, okay, let's go. We know. Do you hand your storyboards out to the crew and the actors as well, just so they can
Yeah,
see
my
it?
DP, my costume designer and my set people, but because this is the first time I've had to actually build a set. I usually use Airbnbs that have a period look for my stories and they work fine, both exterior and interior. But this is the first time I've actually had to, wow, we're going into the studio, we're going to build a science fiction set. So we're going to use a combination of miniatures and full scale sets. But yeah, it's a challenge. But I also do a lot of research in terms of the look of the film. I'll go through and I'll try and get color palettes from different films that I think are going to work with my color palette. I go and watch films that the director I respect and the way he looks through a camera I respect. And I start picking up ideas about how I want to pick up my shots and make them look like that. When I'm actually on the set, we're going for those kinds of shots.
How do you maintain the creativity and originality in your work? And then also, I mean, looking at your films, they're very polished compared
Thank you.
to many independent films. And I have it's probably number one, what kind of camera do you use? And then what's your relationship with David Patterson as the editor?
Well, David was in with me on the first 10 films. He approached me on my third film as a BTS shooter, and he said, can you give me a chance? I'd like to shoot one of your projects. And he edited a couple of my earlier projects and cleaned them up. And I thought, well, he knows what he's doing. So I set him behind a camera and let him shoot the next 8 films of mine.
Oh, so he's the DP as well.
Yeah, he was a DP, but he also edited my films. So he had a unique possibility or position to look through the lens of the camera and decide in his head how it was going to be edited too, which was a huge bonus for us. Consequently, he took the files as soon as we were finished and wrapped to his edit bay and started editing. So it was kind of a seamless transition, and it was a very enjoyable experience. But he moved to the East Coast. And so after 30 years waiting up in Bellevue, he moved to like Virginia, North Carolina, and that was it. So I've been using Eric Biss for my last two films. He's going to be working on this film as well. And he also approached me way back when I started shooting as a BTS shooter. And he's worked on Red and Sony. He's worked on a bunch of different films or cameras. He's a very personable, easygoing guy. And that's the kind of personality I need to work with me. You know, we set out pre-production talking about the look of the film and talking about, you know, the flow of the film. But the meantime, when we're on the set actually executing the film, we're bouncing ideas off of each other at the same time. So it's a super collaborative experience.